Wait, I can swap this in the middle? Hold up. Stop fucking fishing, dumbass. Okay, so we get staggered there automatically too much. That was way too early. Oh wait, I still got it somehow. Sure, I will just take it like this then. Phase 2. Oh shit. That's redemption right there. Cutting it off. Wait, that's... Yo, that is Raven's move. Hello?
Adam, I'm sorry.
Eve. With this, the history of humans is over. Your will, your actions, your
Also,
decisions.
he did not lose his self-consciousness or sense of self even in his transformed state.
In the right direction.
He said that he was gonna lose it, but like he said that he was gonna shed his humanity to become a monster. But he still didn't.
Adam. Goodbye. Eve?
Nice, ask him.
Eve! The nest! Hurry!
What was her name?
A starry night.
Ibaris? Right.
Reading the future is like mapping out the night sky. And sometimes you catch a glimpse of a shooting star falling towards Earth. Yes, seeing the future is just like that. I fully respect your decision, Eve, even if it is a bittersweet one. I will be waiting for you, and I will be watching.
Mother Sphere.
That's some kind of hologram.
Is it done? Is it finally over?
Yes, it is, Eve and Lily. It is time to go home.
And I hate that fucking... I think I really hate
But
Mother
we
Sphere's
still have
character in
things
this
to
game.
do.
It's depicted so like mysteriously, I
First,
fucking hate it.
Let's pay Mother Sphere a visit. We have a few questions for her, remember?
Yeah, we are not gonna get those answers though. Also, how does the Mother Sphere just like on an absolute dime just know exactly where we are? Like she knew where the nest was this entire time, right? Interesting, that resembles a butterfly with those shield wings, I suppose those are. Or energy barriers or whatever.
I can see the colony. Oh, but...
Is this some kind of thought experiment for the Androiders or what? Like, they definitely do not need Earth. I think we can say that. I'm not gonna lie, I feel a lot the same I felt when I finished Black Myth Wukong after seeing 2 disappointing chapters back to back and just being annoyed with the game. I feel the same way, but for a very different reason. This game is so unbelievably late game heavy when it comes to its storytelling and its boss fights that this later part of the game felt almost exhausting to play. Like they saved all of the cool stuff so far at the end, and they saturated the hell out of it at the end for the last several hours. So it literally just felt exhausting to play. Like, it's cool, yeah, but like, man, that is way too much. They need to sprinkle that stuff a lot more. Like, take a book from something like Lies of P, for example. Like, Lies of P has like a, yeah, pretty long last area, obviously, in the Alchemist Isle. But it's got only 3 major bosses there at the end. And it's also paced really nicely. The only 2 bosses that are like damn near immediately back to back from each other is just Simon Manus and the Nameless Puppet. Those 2 fights, when you do them back to back, can feel a little bit exhausting. Especially if you struggle with Simon Manus before as well. That's kind of what I felt here. When you fight... well, when you fight Raven and then you fight Adam back to back like this. I kind of felt a lot the same way, where it just felt like it's just... well, that's just 2, obviously. The 2 would have been fine, but... when you have the exhausting fights as well in the orbital elevator area. Well, exhausting but cool fights. It's like a very weird... how do I explain this? It's kind of like... Dark Souls 2 would be a good way to explain this, actually. So, you know how Dark Souls 2 does not have like that many good boss fights? Mainly, the main fun and exciting part of Dark Souls 2 is the areas and the exploration, the areas, and progression in the game from one area to the next. It's a journey. It feels like a journey when you play that game. The boss fights are kind of a side thought. With this game, I felt exactly like that until the orbital elevator, yeah. When we met the Naytiba with the dual swords, that was the first time when I felt like, wait, the boss fights in this game actually have something. Before that point, the boss fights in this game were just a miss for me, like completely miss. They felt like a side thought. And then, when the boss fights all of a sudden became interesting just like that, it just feels like... it's a sudden, like, exhausting feeling that it creates. Instead of feeling like it's exciting, it feels like, wait, this is now a thing? You know? Like, if the quality of the boss fights was as consistent as that throughout the entire game, I would get used to it and I would always be excited to see a boss fight. But because the entire early game, the first several days of playing this game, I never expected the boss fights to be like, you know, I'm just excited for a boss fight. It's more like, oh, a boss, let me just bank it. Like, that's how it about felt. But then when they actually like finally started to bring the boss fights in super late in the game like this, that were actually like exciting and difficult on top of that, like it just feels like it adds something to the game which I was not expecting, and it just felt exhausting on top of that. Maybe somebody else's experience is gonna feel different, obviously, from what I just said, but there's a lot of examples that I can also pull up, like them reusing a lot of boss fights. Like, a lot of the normal Naytiba fights are just reskins on both the overworld as well as the main story. So, when you see that kind of miss in quality of reusing the same bosses from time to time like that, it sets your expectations for the boss fights not very high whatsoever. They seem like some cornerstones that are supposed to be just like flashy punching bags, you know? But then when they actually start making the boss fights unique and interesting, it feels like it almost feels like it is too much too late. You know, it feels like, oh man, I just have such a strong distaste for that. I really do. Like, it's kind of how I would exactly feel like if like Dark Souls 2 would have like the first several bosses in the like several days when you play your first playthrough of that game be like uninteresting and unexciting, and then all of a sudden every single boss that you fight is actually really interesting and cool, out of like just like that. It just feels like the game, like I just have this feeling where I don't think that the game can redeem itself, you know? Where like the boss fights of the game are unredeemable because of what was before. It kind of like taints my mood for the boss fights in the game. It's the same exact thing what happened with Black Myth Wukong. But with Black Myth Wukong it was a lot different way around with the final 2 chapters. The areas, the enemies, were actually the disappointing part. And then the boss fights were actually still delivering extremely well most of the time. But with this game, in the early mid-game, it felt the opposite. It felt like the areas, the exploration, and the collecting of stuff and the puzzles, that's the stuff that was interesting all the time. But then the boss fights felt like a fully afterthought. So it's like the opposite thing. That's just set my expectations for the rest of the game to be exactly like that. And when it isn't like that, I should be positively surprised, but my mood is just ruined for it because of what was before. I have this with every game that I play. If there's some parts that just ruin the mood for the game and set up expectations either too high or too low all of a sudden, and when they aren't met, it just feels like it just feels hollow. Like it doesn't feel like authentic to the experience at that point. But I feel like I've said enough negative things now. Okay. So positive things about this game. The storytelling in this game is really nice. Particularly the storytelling that does not involve any screenplay from the characters. The storytelling, like the documents, the memory sticks, the side quest storytelling, the dichotomies behind different ways of thinking from the androids and the humans, the polarization, well, I kind of said it already, but the polarization of the human race compared to the androids that are living in this world was always interesting to read about and to react to. That I always enjoyed a lot. As I said, the screenplay was off in this game a lot of the time. Particularly with Eve and Lily on the screen, especially with Eve on the screen. Her character rigging was not done well enough where I would just be able to like indulge on the moment. It would always like take me off from like scenes with how like with sometimes with what she's saying, and sometimes it's what the movements that she does with her head and like her mouth and all that. Like it just didn't feel right. But I feel like that was honestly intentional from the developers, that one. I feel like they felt like if they don't make it fully clear that Eve is not something else besides a human, then the hints that they are giving throughout the journey would not be enough or something. And also, one thing that I was really annoyed about throughout this entire game is the character arcs in this game. I don't feel like the character arcs in this game move anywhere throughout the entire game. Like, let's take example something like Nier Automata. So, let's take 9S's character. He's probably the best example of this entire thing. So, 9S starts as a very gullible and candid and quite childish character like Eve does at the start of the game. He's very open-minded, he's very helpful and encouraging character who just wants to support and have friends at the start of the game. He's very wholesome character at the start. But then throughout the journey, on the A, B and the C playthrough, he becomes this, I would say, like battle hardened, like almost like resenting of everything that he used to love and care about in his life. He becomes so angry and so resentful of everything that he thought was authentic and actually care about his existence and his work and to be and all that, that he feels like that the only thing he can do is to destroy everything, because he feels so betrayed by the lies that he has been told that he feels like the mere existence in the world that he is in feels wrong. So he goes to any lengths at that point, to any means and any end necessary, to try to put an end to all of it, including his own existence, because he feels so unjustified by his own surroundings at that point in the game. But with this game, do we have another character that should feel the same way? Well, that's Eve. Eve should feel about the same way, and we see that. We see that Eve starts feeling the same way really hard, actually, during the Raven fight. In the actual physical meetup with Raven, both the times, when we first time fight Raven in the Presence Chamber, and when we fight Raven second time in her normal form, both the times, as well as in the Adam fight, Eve actually shows how she truly feels. That's what her character arc should have built her character to be. But we don't see that the entire game. That even in this game is just completely missing. It just conveniently comes up at times when it is indeed that the most convenient. And when it is the most convenient for the screenplay and the story to bring out that point, then it just feels inauthentic to what we see Eve as 90% of the game. And that just takes me off from like immersing myself like to the characters and seeing their perspective, because I don't feel like their own like character development, their own like senses of selves and develops in their consciousness. It does not feel authentic to me, and it takes me off the story. So that's what the big problem with the character arcs and the screenplays is, that they feel like they are separate from each other. It feels like the character arc does not actually move throughout the story enough. And then in the screenplay, all of a sudden you have a completely different, at times, polarization of the characters. And it really takes me off from the authenticity of the experience. Like, I can't be the only one who feels like this from this game, especially when you have played other games, plenty of other games that do character arc storytelling, which is, by the way, any game that has ever written, any novel that has been ever written, any movie that has been ever written, succeeds at this, and has to succeed at this, at some level, for the stories from the characters' perspectives that you care about, for them to feel compelling, gripping, and authentic. If they fail at doing that, then you stop rooting for the characters that you should be caring about. Or you just create a dichotomy between you and the character. It feels like you are experiencing the game's events very differently compared to the characters that are portrayed on the screen that you should care about. And that kind of difference there is... it really just does take off from the experience. Like, as much as I want to love this game, those negative things are just there and they just don't go anywhere, regardless of where I look. It feels like Shift Up did not understand how to write character arcs in this game. Or they were so subtle with it that only at the very end it becomes actually apparent to what the characters actually feel like. Before that point, it feels like it's almost like stage play. Whenever we see Eve and Lily, for example, have the same dialogues with each other, with just some bit different words and some context changes, and there's actually some bickering between them and the Mother Sphere, or bickering between them and what they themselves are, their own existential crises and stuff like that. It feels like it's just conveniently portrayed at times for a shock almost, and it does not actually carry any true emotional weight that fits the story. But I still love this game a lot though. But I just wish that they actually just did it better. And it's so sad to see that it is like this, because in a lot of other games that I have played that are very story heavy or storytelling heavy or story rich games, most of them, if not all of them, they actually succeed at this very nicely. So having this game fail at it more than your average game, it really just takes you off, you know? Like, if they did it just a bit better, I would have been fine with it. But it would not be a stellar experience, let's be sure of that. But at the same time, it would not be so bad that it would take me off from experiencing the moments in this game. But unfortunately, it is on that level where it actually takes you off from the moments in this game. And that is the reason as to why the moments in this game also felt like they barely had any emotional weight for me. Like, the only moment in this game where I actually felt emotionally truly invested to what I was seeing on the screen was the Enya side quest part. That was the only true moment where, despite the poor screenplay and the character arcs just not exactly fitting on the moments or on the story, it was actually powerful enough to the point where I almost fully ignored it and just was able to indulge without any problems. It was just like that. But with all of the other moments in this game that should feel like they carry emotional weight, like it should feel like it should provoke a certain feeling, every single one of them is a miss. Each and every single one. Particularly, like, this ending is a good example of that. Like, no amount of monologue, no amount of dialogue between Eve, Adam, and Lily at this ending of the game was gonna make me emotionally invested to what was happening. It was more so I was either irritated or annoyed at what the characters' convictions were at that moment, what the screenplay was doing, or I was just confused about the background of the story that felt like it was full nonsense, like with the Mother Sphere. I still to this moment don't know if Mother Sphere actually knew what Adam was, knew where the Elder Naytiba was this entire time, knew where the nest was this entire time. And seeing how the Mother Sphere just appears as a hologram out of nowhere, the ship happens to just land there on the wasteland out of nowhere almost, just like that, without any problems. It just feels so like... It feels so pretentious, you know? Like, what is this Mother Sphere bullshit? Like that entire character lore on the background with that AI feels so fucking confusing to try to follow. I hated it throughout the entire game. It felt like it was just teasing at the back there, in need of actual answers throughout the entire game that we never got. The only thing we really got is just Mother Sphere is an AI that was created by some of the smartest human scientists at the time, by Raphael Marx being the leader of the research at that point. He created it, it went AWOL because its ego awokened, and then it just decided that it was gonna create a superior species of humans. Actually, you know what? Mother Sphere says there on the hologram at the end that I respect your decision even if it is a bittersweet one. Did the Mother Sphere intend this entire time that we were gonna fuse with Adam to create a new species of humanity? Was this entire thing, just like Adam said and Eve said, just an entire play for us to gather some hypercells and just fuse with Adam? Like, it was just pretending this entire time. It was just stage play, basically, for the two, for Adam and the Mother Sphere. Is that what this was? Man, what the fuck is this? wonder what happens if I press continue. Is it gonna kick me back into right before the last boss fight, like some of these games do, or is it gonna be like starts new game plus or something? I don't know. But yeah, I already said some of my biggest thoughts about this game. Positive things? I mean, I've already said enough of them. It's a very good game, obviously. Like, that's a given. I was gonna say that the combat feels very fluid, but no. There's some... Like, okay, let's take a good example. Beta skills and as well as burst skills. Why do they have to feel so clunky to use? Why does Eve, or why is Eve, unable to immediately use, say, beta and the burst skills between and after her light and heavy attacks? And why is the punishment for pressing the wrong button in the combo the one where Eve just does nothing for a moment? Self-stuns herself and does nothing. Why does it have to be so clunky like that? Why does the swapping of the ammo have to take so long and sometimes not work at all? There's many examples like this in this game where there is just very unnecessary clunkiness and animation locks that simply couldn't be there. Now, why could they not be there? They are artificial. Animation locks like that are artificially created. It's easier to not have them actually in a game from a design perspective. So they are intentionally added the way they are, but if they are not added correctly, then... well... then we have gameplay that can feel annoying at times. There we have that. Man, I really hate that I have so many conflicting feelings about this game. I do. It's the same thing I felt with Black Myth Wukong at the end of it. Same conflicting feelings there. But for very different reason. On both games. Which what... I mean, I guess I can talk about this too. Which one of the games is better? Black Myth Wukong. It's not even comparable. Black Myth Wukong is just fucking nuts with its quality. It is an absolutely one-in-a-decade game, that game. It genuinely is just... the peak in that game and the consistency is just genuinely unmatched by anything. However, a very personal opinion, which one of the two games I like more and which one of the two games I would rather play again? This game. I would rather play Stellar Blade again than Black Myth Wukong. And there's a few reasons for that. First reason, storytelling. Second reason, lore. Third reason, charm, captivating side characters, the feeling, and this is very important, the feeling of belonging somewhere, aka comfort. That's a big thing that misses from games like Lords of the Fallen as a good example, or from Black Myth Wukong a lot of the time. Those moments and that feeling of relaxation, those feelings of like almost silent meditation between encounters and exertion, they kind of don't exist. It's just a constant pummeling from start to finish. While with this game, it takes its time and it wants to appreciate the player's time by throwing other types of challenges and interesting, captivating content than just have it feel like a one note the entire time. And that is the thing that I really respect about this game. But it did not go as AWOL as something like, you know, Nier Automata when it comes to like mechanics, meta breaking, or game rule breaking. Nothing like that. Or even Black Myth Wukong when it comes down to that, to be honest, in certain moments. Like, that game broke them actually more than this one at times. But yeah. Yeah, so very personal opinion. I like this game more than Black Myth Wukong. But Black Myth Wukong is head and shoulders better game than this. It genuinely is. But I personally like this game more. So there's that. Man, do I wish that the fucking character arcs were more noticeable throughout the game, more progressive, as well as that some of the screenplay was just done better. Not the voice acting. I'm fine with the voice acting. There's no problem with that. When I say screenplay, some people get confused about that, but no. Is the character rigging? It's okay, this one actually is the camera angles in this game during like scenes and moments and cinematic moments and like during battles, those are all good. The camera angles are not a problem with this game. So like that part of the screenplay is actually totally fine. It's not like something like Ghost of Tsushima where I feel like the camera angles and the movement on the screen was necessarily the part that took me off the experience, which is true in that game. But with this game, the movement that happens on the screen when there's action and the camera angles, they are actually great. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. It's just the emotional value, the setups and the payoffs of characters and their character arcs that are portrayed on the screen that should fit the story. They don't feel authentic and they feel convenient for the part in the story that you are experiencing. And otherwise they feel like they are conveniently taken off to make the experience of what you are doing feel just more wholesome and more stagnant. I really hate that. I really do hate that part. However, I still do love this game for what it is. And this is always true what I'm about to say next as well. I always like the subsequent playthroughs of every game that I enjoyed on the first playthrough more on the subsequent playthroughs than on the first playthrough. First playthrough of every game I play is quite literally always my least favorite one. I think that's a very unpopular opinion, but for me, I genuinely like it more. And here's a big reason why. I like to theorize, hypothesize, and blabber about the characters, the lore, and all of that. I like to do that a lot in these games, with the information that is given to me when it makes sense. But what happens when I don't have most of the puzzle pieces? Well, there's simply less to talk about, and there's simply less new revelations to think about. And when you're doing subsequent playthroughs, the great thing about it is that when you already know the story and all the intricate parts that come to it, you can make new discoveries when you take the entire picture into account, when you take all of the contents that you already know and paid attention to in the previous playthrough. It enriches your own knowledge and immersion towards the game's story when you connect more intricate and smaller pieces to the big picture. And it makes you appreciate the experience all the more. Like, I guess a simple way to put this would be, the one thing that I really love about replaying games that I loved on the first playthrough is discovering new stuff when I already thought that I knew everything about the game. That's the single feeling that I love about playing any game over anything else. And I have always kept that exact same opinion. That could be true for the first playthrough, obviously, but especially subsequent playthroughs. When you play a game that you have loved for the amount of time that you have put into it, and you still discover new stuff, That is my favorite thing of just gaming. Literally playing any game, that's my absolute favorite thing. I remember I recently went back to the 2018 God of War, and I have already played that game, like New Game Cycles. I have played one first blind playthrough, then I played New Game Plus on the same save, then I started a new fresh save, and then I went to New Game Plus on the new fresh save again. So I did 4 full playthroughs. Then I did the 5th playthrough, I think it was 5th playthrough, yeah, of the game, and I was gonna stream that. I have a partial playthrough actually on my Twitch channel, but I didn't finish it. And in that playthrough, I still discovered new combat mechanics, not even animation cancels, just normal combat mechanics that most people will literally never find in the combat. That just made the combat feel even more rewarding and fulfilling when you knew them. And the discovery of those on a game that you have played for the amount of time that you have, it's literally unparalleled, the satisfaction that you gain from it. It is the absolute best thing in games for me. Nothing beats it. And it's possibly gonna be the same thing with this game. I wonder what happens if I press continue. I kinda wanna immediately test it, but if it actually kicks me into New Game Plus, even though I have to click like here. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I really like New Game Pluses in these games. Like, honestly. Like, there was a point when I would love nothing more in these like single playthrough games than having a New Game Plus mode that you can do after the first playthrough. If you really enjoyed the first playthrough. But nowadays I feel like I like fresh New Game save playthroughs more than anything. But those playthroughs have always one big problem. Because you always start with the same amount of stuff. They feel too similar to each other. Compared to like doing New Game Plus runs, you know? But New Game Plus runs, they are always too easy. That's the thing. That's another thing. Like you already have like everything, so like it's like, yeah. That's another thing. So I wonder what happens if I press continue though. Also, the game literally just warned me that there's gonna be like, I don't know, new items and new stuff to get on New Game Plus, so I wonder how true that is. Like, I wonder if you have to do New Game Plus on the same save if you want to like get 100% achievements on the game. Because that kind of means that yes. Also, I'm pretty sure I had 42 out of 49 of those cans as well. So I'm missing like 7 cans. And I cannot think of a single fucking place where they might possibly be. So that is a lot of possibility there that is just like, where the fuck is it, you know? So I feel like I either missed a lot there, or that amount of it at least is just hidden on New Game Plus. There's New Game Plus achievements separately? What the fuck is this? Oh, there's literally just an achievement for beating New Game Plus. Okay. And oh yeah, there's new skills on New Game Plus. Understandable. Oh yeah, it kind of warned me about that. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and oh, that's like 12.6%. Never mind. I was gonna say like that's like. Why did it say 85%? I guess it's counting the 42 out of 49 or something. 10 exoskeletons upgraded to maximum. Okay, well that, I mean, I can do that easily. Okay, that is just 48.4% players have this. That is just the execution mechanic when you break enemies' balance and execute them with the heavy attack, right? That's what this is. Yeah, I don't really do that a lot. Like, that requires you to just sit there and kind of parry enemies until their posture bar breaks, or balance bar. That's not my playstyle with this game. With how slow everything attacks, I'd rather do weave or like weave my own attacks in and do good amount of DPS all the time, rather than wait for the enemies to attack me. The only exception, slightly, being the Elder Naytiba fight, because the Elder Naytiba, aka Adam, he dashed around so fucking much and so far away from me that I literally had no other option, almost, but to play to his fiddle. Like, I had to wait until he comes to me, basically, at that point. He was pretty much the only one, yeah. Actually, no. This might actually be the execution attack from, like, the sneak. Like, the backstab mechanic. Because this hiljainen teloittaja, it basically means silent assassin. Or silent executioner would be like a exact conversion to English, I suppose, or translation. So it might just be that sneak mechanic instead. Yeah, these two I can easily do, whatever. This one I have no idea. This one, also no idea. I actually know, wait, this might be like complete all missions or something, because I didn't get the complete all the missions. That might be why. Yep. Also, I can almost guarantee you that I will probably play this game again next time I turn the stream on. I think that's pretty much a given. However, I'm not gonna continue the same save. I'm gonna create a new save and do a new game zero run. I think that's what I'm gonna do, yeah. Yep, that exactly. But this time around, I'm gonna be more careful not to miss stuff. But without spoiling myself, I'm just gonna, with the hindsight of knowing where and when I lock myself out of stuff, and what to look for, I will be able to succeed. Sure I will. But yeah, the reason as to why I do rather another New Game Plus Zero run is because I hope, well, one of the reasons is that I hope that you can do New Game Plus Zero on the hard mode. Like, that's what I'm really interested about. Yeah, see about that idea. Yeah. Yeah. Although, I must say, the fucking damage or the fucking the absolute cojones of Adam and Raven there at that point in the game to do the amount of damage that they did is quite redonkulous. Although I can easily somewhat counter it by just, you know, using more defensive stuff, I guess, but that kind of defeats the entire purpose of it being hard mode, you know? So it just, just kind of feels bad, you know? Not to mention, if I do that, I have to sacrifice some exospine stuff as well as some gears to use for defense instead of for DPS or for more fun stuff. So there's that. But yeah, I'm probably gonna do another New Game Plus Zero run, and then I'm gonna continue that second playthrough New Game Plus Zero into New Game Plus for the first time. That's probably how I'm gonna do it. That's usually how I do it for most of these games anyway. I just start a fresh New Game Plus Zero save. It just feels more enlightening. It's kind of like leaving something behind that, how do I say this? What is the exact word here that I'm looking for? It feels more like, what is it? I feel like it feels more pure to start an entirely new New Game Plus Zero run over doing the second playthrough on the same save that you powered through the New Game Plus Zero with on the blind first playthrough. Like, it feels like it's the kind of playthrough that you just leave there and you'd never touch again, kind of. That's how it feels for me anyway. And that's how I like it usually. But I totally understand for the people that don't like doing it. You know, after all, if it's not fucking night and day anyway, like, you know, clear for people who watch these VODs or whatever, or the stream, I am not like most people who play these games. No, I am not. I am the absolute minuscule minority who is an absolute psychopath when it comes to how they play these games. Which is very transparent on how I talk about the games, how I play the game, how I play the combat in these games. All of that stuff. It's very apparent that it's very different from your average experience when you watch somebody play a first playthrough or just any game. You know, I've never been like that. I always want something more out of every game I play, you know? Put truly my own spin into it, you know? But yeah, I feel like I've said enough now. Also, if it isn't very apparent, one of the big reasons as to why I have been blabbing this long is because I really, really do like this game. And I just want to somehow justify both the negative and the positive things that I say and just kind of make a comprehensive, like, collection for somebody who doesn't actually understand the way I think. To, like, be able to understand what I mean, you know? Before I take my leave here. But yeah, really, really great game. And I will definitely be playing it again.